I played a game show, now I think I'm cursed. The email arrived at 3:17 a.m., buried under a mountain of digital garbage bills, spam, job rejections. Subject line: and opportunity awaits. I almost deleted it. Another scam, another promise of easy money that would inevitably lead to disappointment. But then I saw the logo. A stylized raven perched on a gnarled branch, etched in a deep, almost black green. It looked expensive, intriguing. I clicked. The email was short, cryptic. The inheritance game. A unique competition for a life-altering reward. Are you ready to claim what's yours? Below was a link to a sleek, minimalist website. I was drowning. 2 months behind on rent, a mountain of student loan debt looming, and a soul-crushing job at a call center where I spent my days convincing old ladies they needed extended warranties on toasters. I needed a win. I needed it badly. The website was even more unsettling than the email. No clear explanation of the game, no mention of the prize money, though whispers online put it in the millions. Just a form asking a series of intensely personal questions. My deepest fears, my greatest regrets, my darkest desires. It felt invasive, violating. But I answered them anyway. A week later, I received a package. A heavy, ornate box containing a single antique key and a plane ticket to Asheville, North Carolina. Along with it, a card with the address of a private airfield and a simple instruction: be ready. Hollow Creek wasn't on any map I could find. The GPS cut out miles before we arrived, the only road a winding ribbon of asphalt disappearing into a wall of trees. The air hung heavy and damp, thick with the smell of decaying leaves and something else, something ancient and earthy. The Blackwood estate rose out of the gloom like a Gothic nightmare. A sprawling mansion of dark stone and shadowed turrets, its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world. The place reeked of history, not the sanitized, tourist trap history of museums, but something raw, something visceral. The other contestants were an odd bunch. A struggling single mother with weary eyes and a quiet determination. A cocky entrepreneur who reeked of money and arrogance. A nervous librarian who clung to her books like lifelines. And Arthur Penhaligon, an older gentleman with a twinkle in his eye and a deep, unsettling knowledge of local folklore. Then there was Mr. Blackwood, Silas Blackwood. He materialized from the shadows as we stepped out of the vans, a figure of unsettling calm and unnerving charm. Tall and slender with eyes that seemed to absorb the light around him. He wore a tailored suit that looked centuries old, and his smile never quite reached his eyes. "Welcome," he said, his voice a low, smooth baritone that sent a shiver down my spine. "Welcome to the inheritance game. Prepare to discover what you are truly capable of." The first few challenges were odd. Riddles carved into ancient stones, scavenger hunts through the estate's decaying library, tasks that tested our knowledge of local history and folklore. The prize money dangled before us like a glittering carrot, fueling our ambition, our desperation. Arthur Penhaligon became my unlikely ally. A historian by trade, he knew everything about Hollow Creek, about the Blackwood family. He told me stories of dark rituals, of sacrifices made to maintain the family's wealth and power, of a curse that clung to the estate like a shroud. "The Blackwoods," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "they've always been different. They say they made a deal long ago, a deal with something old." I dismissed it as folklore, as the ramblings of an eccentric old man. But then the first contestant disappeared. Maria, the single mother. One morning her room was empty, her belongings gone. The production crew brushed it off as a voluntary withdrawal, said she couldn't handle the pressure, but something felt wrong. Maria wouldn't just leave her child, her chance at a better life. That night I had a dream, a twisted, feverish nightmare of gnarled trees, whispering voices, and a pair of eyes burning in the darkness. I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. The next day, the challenges took a darker turn. We were tasked with exploring the estate's sprawling grounds, searching for hidden symbols carved into the trees. The forest felt oppressive, the air thick with a sense of dread. I could feel eyes on me, watching, waiting. I found Arthur in the library, surrounded by dusty tomes and crumbling manuscripts. He looked pale, agitated. "I found something," he said, his voice trembling. "An old journal. It belonged to one of the Blackwoods. It speaks of a ritual, a sacrifice." He showed me the journal. The pages were filled with strange symbols and cryptic phrases, drawings of grotesque figures, of dark rituals performed under the light of the full moon. "They say they feed the land," I say to Arthur, trying to process the information. Feed the land. By what blood? Yes, I would say so. That night I couldn't sleep. The journal's images burned in my mind. I wandered the halls of the estate, drawn by an unseen force. I found myself in the basement, a dark, damp space filled with cobwebs and forgotten relics. In the corner, hidden behind a stack of old crates, I found a door. A heavy iron door, sealed with a rusty lock. I found a crowbar lying nearby and, after struggling, managed to pry the door open. Beyond the door was a tunnel, a narrow, claustrophobic passage that sloped downwards into the earth. I hesitated. Something told me I shouldn't go in there, that nothing good could come of it. but curiosity, that insatiable human weakness, got the better of me. I took a deep breath and stepped into the darkness. The tunnel led to a chamber, a circular room with stone walls and a dirt floor. In the center of the room there was an altar, and on the altar there was a symbol. The same raven symbol from the email, but larger, more menacing. As I stared at the symbol, I felt a presence, something ancient, something powerful. The air grew cold, the temperature dropped. I could hear whispers, voices that seemed to come from the very walls of the chamber. Then I saw them, shadows flickering in the corners of my eyes, shapes moving in the darkness. I tried to run, but it was too late. Something grabbed me, pulling me down. I woke up back in my room, covered in sweat, my body aching. I told Arthur about it the next morning. He was visibly shaken. "You saw it," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You saw the thing that lives beneath the estate." That afternoon, Margaret Bellwether, a local historian, was granted permission to walk around the set. I was told to show her around. As soon as she arrived, she gasped, "You're Elias, right?" I confirmed with her. "Leave this place, Elias. That Blackwood name is cursed. You're lucky to be alive with the things I have heard." She told me she needed to leave immediately, but if she could, she would tell me more. Then another contestant disappeared. Sarah, the librarian. Her body was found in the forest, her eyes wide with terror, a raven feather clutched in her hand. The production crew called it an accident, said she got lost and succumbed to the elements. But I knew better. Arthur and I decided to confront Mr. Blackwood. We found him in his study, a large, opulent room filled with books and artifacts. "We know what you're doing," Arthur said, his voice trembling with rage. "We know about the sacrifices. We know about the thing that lives beneath the estate." Mr. Blackwood smiled, a slow, chilling smile that sent a shiver down my spine. "You know too much," he said, "but it doesn't matter. The game must continue." He clapped his hands and two men in black suits appeared. They grabbed Arthur and dragged him away. I tried to fight them, but they were too strong. They threw me out of the study, slamming the door in my face. I knew what was coming. Arthur was next. He knew too much. He was a liability. I ran to Arthur's room. It was empty. His belongings were gone. I went to the forest, searching for him. I found him near the altar from my dream, arranged ritualistically. His throat was cut. That night I couldn't sleep. I called my sister Clara, left a message. I knew I had to get out of there, but I couldn't just leave. I had to expose Mr. Blackwood, to stop him before he hurt anyone else. I snuck into Mr. Blackwood's study again. I searched for evidence, for anything that could prove his guilt. I found a hidden compartment behind a bookshelf. Inside there was a box. I opened the box. Inside there was a knife, a ceremonial knife with a blade as sharp as a razor, and on the blade there was blood. Mr. Blackwood walked in, looking for something. He asks in a very calm tone, "The show must continue, Elias." I lunged at him, knife in hand. He dodged me easily, disarming me. "You can't stop me, Elias," he said, his voice cold and menacing. "This has been going on for centuries. It's bigger than you can possibly imagine." He revealed the truth. "The inheritance game isn't about money," he said. "It's about power. It's about appeasing the entity that has sustained the Blackwood family for generations. An entity that demands sacrifice. The entity he speaks of feeds off of death, and the contestants are just fodder." The final challenge was set. A ritual, a competition of life and death. The remaining contestants and I were forced to compete in a deadly game of cat and mouse through the forest. The last one standing would win. The losers would feed the entity below the estate. I ran, I hid, I fought. I watched as the other contestants fell, one by one. Finally, it was just me and the cocky entrepreneur. He had a gun, a perk given to him by Mr. Blackwood. We faced off in the clearing beneath the altar where they found Arthur. The moon was full, casting an eerie glow over the estate. He fired. I dodged. The bullet grazed my arm. I tackled him, wrestled the gun from his grasp. We fought tooth and nail, our bodies slick with sweat and blood. I gained the upper hand. I raised the gun, my finger on the trigger. I couldn't do it. I couldn't kill him. Then from the shadows Mr. Blackwood appeared. He smiled, a sinister smile that revealed the rottenness beneath his charming facade. "A noble gesture, Elias," he said, "but ultimately futile." He raised his hand, and a figure emerged from the darkness. A hulking brute with eyes that glowed with an unnatural light. The groundskeeper, except much taller and more intimidating, the very same from the television set. The figure grabbed the entrepreneur, dragging him towards the altar. The entrepreneur screamed, begged for his life. Mr. Blackwood turned to me. "You have won, Elias. You have proven yourself worthy." But I didn't feel like a winner. I felt like a pawn in a twisted game that had cost lives. I ran as fast as I could, away from the estate, away from Hollow Creek, away from the Blackwood family and their dark legacy. I made it back to Asheville. I caught the first flight out of there. I haven't slept properly since. I tried to tell the police, but they didn't believe me. They dismissed it as a hallucination, as the product of a fevered imagination. My sister, Clara, keeps calling. She's worried about me. I don't know what to tell her. I can still see it in my dreams. The raven symbol, the altar, the eyes burning in the darkness. The whispers, the screams. I don't know what the entity wants, but I know it's not finished with me. I can feel it lurking in the shadows, watching, waiting. I think I'm cursed. Clara called again, more frantic this time. She said she couldn't get a hold of the local authorities in Hollow Creek. She said she was driving down there herself. I begged her not to, but she wouldn't listen. Said she needed to see me to make sure I was okay. I tried to warn her to tell her about the estate, about Mr. Blackwood, about the entity, but she wouldn't believe me, said I was just traumatized, that I needed help. She hung up, promising to call me when she arrived in Asheville. I haven't heard from her since. The TV flickers. My power is unstable since I moved into this new place. I go to shut it off, but I notice something strange. It's the Blackwood estate. The shot pans to Mr. Blackwood. He looks towards the camera and smiles. We will be starting a new season shortly. We are always accepting applications. I jump back. I immediately unplug the TV, but the image is burned into my retinas. The power goes out completely. I fumble for my phone, a new message from an unknown number. Welcome back, Elias. We have your sister. I have to go back. I have no choice.